Today our topic is Industrial Modbus LED displays. This is our agenda for today. We'll cover the ICP-DOS IKAN series. We'll go over the product features. We'll go over the IKAN Message configuration using a web browser. We'll show how to display Modbus TCP and Modbus RTU data using the IKAN. And we'll show how to trigger instant messages for alarms and notifications. And finally, we'll go over applications and complementary products to the IKAN series. ICP-DOS was established in 1993. Our headquarters is in Hsinchu, Taiwan, and ICP-DOS USA was launched in 2001 to support the North and South American markets. We are a Microsoft embedded partner, and our company is ISO 9001 certified, and all of our products are RoHS compliant. The IKAN series is our series of industrial Modbus LED displays, and here's an example of one of them. We currently have two models. We have a smaller model which is 16 characters width, and we have a larger model which is 24 characters in width. They are respectively IKAN 116 and IKAN 124. These are LED displays for displaying messages and Modbus data within an industrial environment or within an office environment. The IKAN housing and mounting. The IKAN has a rugged industrial aluminum housing and can be mounted using the provided screws or mounting brackets that we provide. Common features for the IKAN. There are 7 color LEDs across the message board for any pixel. It can display 7-bit ASCII or 16-bit Unicode characters. It has both an Ethernet port and RS-232 or RS-485 ports for Modbus communication, and the Ethernet port is also used for configuration. The IKAN display are Modbus slave devices, and they have real-time clock built in and are AC powered between 100 to 240 volts AC. The IKAN again are Modbus RTU or Modbus TCP slave devices. They provide 40 coil registers, 64 float registers, and 64 integer registers. The IKAN will allow up to 8 Modbus TCP master connections, or from 8 Modbus TCP masters. IKAN can be controlled by a single PLC or Modbus master, and you can communicate to multiple IKAN devices using Modbus TCP. Configuration for the IKAN is done through a web interface. There's no software required, simply wire it up in this configuration or directly connected to a PC. Here is the basic configuration. First, you connect your IKAN to a PC using Ethernet. Then you power up the IKAN with 100 to 240 volts AC power. Set your PC's IP address to something like 192.168.255.10 with the subnet mask and gateway shown. These are default settings for the IKAN. Open a web browser like Internet Explorer, Chrome, or Safari. Connect to the IKAN by typing 192.168.255.1 into your web browser as shown below. And you'll be able to connect to the web interface, which will look something like this through any of these browsers. To begin with, you'll see, I guess, a blank screen with no messages. Then you select the System tab to configure the Ethernet settings. To do this, you select the Ethernet on the left side. Then you type in your new settings, and you click the Update button. This is also the Modbus address for the IKAN. So when you connect to it from your Modbus master, this is the IP address which you want to connect to. You'll also need to connect to port 502, and I'll show you the Modbus addresses shortly. If you want to add an IKAN to a DL302, this can be used for displaying temperature, humidity, and CO2 levels of the environment that the DL302 is located. To do that, you type the IP address of the remote DL302 shown below in the available space, and also click Update. This is also in the Ethernet configuration page. And again, this is the optional feature, but it's very commonly used in office environments and greenhouse environments. For Modbus R2 communication, simply configure the serial port communication by selecting serial port on the left side under the System tab. Enter your new settings or update the settings, and then click the buttons to update the settings and put them to use. And note that only the RS-232 or RS-485 port can be used one at a time. They're not able to be both used at the same time. Configuration of the LED brightness and message speed are set in the System tab under Miscellaneous. They are LED brightness, where 0 is the brightest, and a message motion speed. This is the speed at which the messages scroll sequentially. If you have multiple messages, it'll be for increasing the speed of the changing of the messages or slowing it down. And again, 0 is the fastest. Simply select your setting using the drop-down box and click the appropriate update button to set the LED brightness and the message motion speeds. These are the Modbus registers pre-assigned in the IKAN series. Again, there are 40 coil registers starting off at 0x000 to 0x0039. They are read-writable for values of 0 or 1. 64 float registers are available, starting at 4x128 all the way up to 4x255. There are 64 total, and they are again read-write. And then finally, we have 64 integer registers, which are 4x0 to 4x63, for a total of 64 registers, and the values ranges are shown here in the table, and the attributes again are read-write for all of these. To use these in your IKAN, you simply point your PLC to write those registers with the values. Let's see, with the coil registers, you have the option to use substitute text. So as shown here in the picture, you can put in a message as opposed to displaying a 0 or 1. You can display a word, in this case, operating. And this is configured within the data pool shown here. The steps for doing it are you go to the data pool tab in the web browser, select the coil variables, and you select with the radio button the coil variable you want to configure, and then you click Configure button in the bottom right corner, and you type in your on text and your off text, and then you simply click Update. Now when you want to display this coil's properties or value, it will substitute the on text or off text for a 0 or 1 condition. Integer registers can be signed or unsigned, and this is the value ranges are 0 to 65535, or again 000F to FFFF in hex, as shown here. And these are read-writable and settable by writing to registers 4x00 to 4x63. Integers can also be scaled in the IKAN to allow you to either configure voltages to display true numerical values or percentages. So for instance, if you wanted to, in this case, scale your input, which is reading or giving values between 0 and 65535 to a voltage level of 0 to 10 volts, you simply do as the following. You first click on Data Pool, select Integer, use the radio button next to the variable which you want to edit, and click Configure, and then you enter your source values, the low and high, which correspond with the raw value from your PLC, and then your target low and target high. In this case, you want to scale between 0 and 10, but if you want to do percentage, you could do 0 to 100, and you select the number of decimal places, and then you click Update. This is great for displaying percentages, scaling values if your PLC is giving raw values, or if you just had a remote data acquisition module which is giving raw values as well. This prevents having to modify the PLC, or in some cases not even using a PLC. Within the IKAN, it allows you to put in 60 common messages which are displayed sequentially amongst them. So all common messages will appear sequentially one after the other in the order that they appear. And you have the ability to disable and enable any messages within those 60 that you choose. It also has the ability to program in 10 instant messages. These are triggered by a PLC writing of a register. We'll go over that shortly. Each message, both common and instant messages, can be up to 100 ASCII characters or 40 Unicode characters long. And if you have more than the width of the IKAN, it will just slide the values over. Enabled common messages step through sequentially, and message speed is set in the System Miscellaneous tab, as I showed you previously. Instant messages, again, are triggered by the Modbus master and displayed until the value changes from a 1 to a 0, whereas 1 will display the instant message, and when you write a 0, the alarm or notification will turn off, and we'll go back to the common messages or the next instant message that you trigger. To configure the messages, you go to the message pool. You select the range of the message you want to type, and you will just enter the message. Text is shown by just typing, and I'll show you how to add Modbus register values shortly. There's a message number associated with it, and you have the ability to enable or disable any message using the web interface, or I'll show you how to also do it using Modbus if you want to edit them in the future. And you also have the option to select a color in the color drop-down box. The IKAN allows, again, these system variables, which are like date and time, coil variables, 40 of them, 64 integer and 64 float values, and the command format is shown as shown on the right. So when using a system variable, you want to do a percentage sign, the letter Y for system variable, and then the actual data point, reference between 000 to 026. The coil variables start with the B, and the integer registers are signified by a U for unsigned, or an I for integer values, and the float values are F, as shown. And we'll go over some examples in the next few slides. Here's an example of the IKAN message formatting. Messages can contain both text and Modbus data, or the substitute text for a coil variable. This is like a screenshot showing the common message format. So you type in coil variable 0, just in plain text, and then equal sign. And then you put the pound sign, the B, which stands for coil variable, and then the coil number. In this case, we're just going to use coil number 1. And if we had substitute text assigned, it would, instead of saying coil variable 0 equals 1, it'll show the on value, which is associated with that specific coil variable. And you would do the same format if you wanted to do an unsigned integer, a signed integer, or a float variable. Just simply change the letter after the percentage sign, and then type in the actual coil or register number associated with that specific variable. Once you type in all your messages, make sure you click on the appropriate display button to display it. If you uncheck the box, the message won't be displayed and it'll just skip to the next one. And they'll be displayed sequentially. And you do have the option to write to the registers which correspond with the display and to undisplay them using Modbus as well. Instant messages are triggered by writing a 1 to the corresponding coil between 0x228 and 0x237. These are the, again, 10 instant messages which you predefine. The message will stay on as long as the value is 1, and to disable that instant message, you simply write a 0 back to that corresponding register. And then common messages will start to appear again. Or if you trigger another instant message, that instant message will trigger or be displayed. And the registers 0100 to 0x163 are to change the status of enabled and disabled common messages. So for instance, if you wanted to alter either the display message, or if you want to go to a certain message, you can change that value as well by writing the corresponding Modbus register. There's a few additional features. The IKAN can allow you to import and export messages for configuring multiple IKAN modules or for more easily configuring the messages. You can control the message from PC, PLC, or even a smartphone, since it's available to do through a web browser. So you can trigger emergency messages through a cell phone if necessary. There's a real time clock built in, so you can display day, date, and time. And it supports Unicode characters, so you can show like symbols or additional like language icons or symbols. The key features of the IKAN are that, again, it's designed for or to be a Modbus RTU or Modbus TCP slave device. You can incorporate those Modbus values into your messages. Multiple IKAN can be connected to one PLC. The IKAN has 64 programmable common messages and again 10 instant messages each. The instant messages can be triggered by writing to the IKAN from a PLC to show alarms and emergency messages. The IKAN messages can display live Modbus data, and this data can be scaled, and for digital values you can use substitute text to show real words. Here's some applications which it's used. In this case, it's just a standalone display to display CO2 level. This would be good for like a greenhouse or maybe parking garage environment. Just a general message board. This is just a sample application shown like at our ICP-DOS office, where it gives a welcome to ICP-DOS's message. Then it gives the indoor temperature, CO2 level, and day and time. Here's just an outline of how it would be used on the factory floor. So your Modbus data can be shown to multiple areas of the factory floor. or office building on multiple levels, just to show, the same messages over to different areas. Within a manufacturing plant, you can give status of machines, counts, machine status, any value from a PLC or controller, and can be used as HMI as well in the manufacturing production level. So as opposed to maybe in this case giving a count for number of packages produced in the hour or the shift. And these would just be simply values from the PLC that can be connected to the IKAN, again as a slave device. Does anyone have any questions on this presentation? If you do have questions, please type them in the chat box. Okay, let's see. I don't see any questions. If anyone has questions after this presentation that suddenly come up afterwards, please feel free to contact us, by phone, through our website, or through email. We're also on social media. If you have any applications which you want to go over which may utilize IKAN, please feel free to call us. And please join us next month for our presentation. I believe it'll be on EtherCAT products. And again, thank you for attending.